Hey guys, welcome back! We are once again in Castletown because today, as promised, we are going to tackle the next building in our lower town. Yep, today we are going to tackle our bar, which will live right here next to our inn. I don't think this one is going to be quite as big as the inn, but I do have some fun ideas for it. So let's build the exterior and see how it looks. Come on in to the Tipsy Dragon, the perfect place to meet your friends and have a drink at the end of a hard day. At least it will be. Right now, as with the inn next door, the interior leaves rather a lot to be desired. However, the exterior is all up and looking wonderful if I do say so myself, so let's start out front, where I tried out another slightly different style of lettering. And while I do think I prefer the inlaid letters with the slight shadow next door, I do also like the way these look, and they have the added benefit of not needing to be covered up inside, which is fantastic. And as for the name, I spent quite a long time trying to think of a name and a way to give the bar a little bit more personality. Without the dragon theme, it all just felt a little bit flat. I mean, it was fine, but I wanted it to pop a little bit more, and I think the name and all it brought with it really helped elevate this place. And speaking of the dragon theme, I really wanted to put something on the back here because it was all just very bland, and once I had the name for the bar, I knew I wanted to put some type of street art thing at the back, and what better than a little dragon face? And maybe it's just me, but there is something very cute about this little guy. I think it's mostly due to the 3D nose, but I just love this. Is it realistic to have on the back of a bar? Probably not, but I'll take something that looks really cool over something that's super realistic pretty much every single time. I did decide to let this side of the building be quite plain because the inn has so much going on the other side, and it's only a small alleyway, but I did give it this nice big round window, which hasn't necessarily got much of a view, but it'll definitely help bring some light in. And as for our final side, I'm really happy with how this came out. I knew I wanted the bar to have some amount of outdoor seating, and I love a little balcony, so that was kind of a no-brainer for me, but it could only really fit these two tables, so I decided to have some seating in a kind of patio area underneath, and I just love it. The dangling lanterns, the paintings, using the balcony for cover from the elements, I'm just really happy with the outside of this building, and once again the main road is probably going to come right along here next to this, so right now it feels like a little bit of an abrupt cutoff, but as long as I get it right it should all fit and feel right in the end. But we're not going to worry about building the main path today. Today we need to stay focused and get this bar all done and looking its best. So let's head inside and get to work. Now this feels a lot more welcoming. We've got a little welcome mat at our feet, a bar area down here, and some more seating upstairs. But before we head up, let's take a quick look down here. So we've got our bar with plenty of kegs and brewing stands for cocktails, ready to make drinks for all of the patrons. We've also got some bar stools for people who just want a quick drink, and a little table tucked into the corner for people who want to be a bit out of the way. And I did also decide that outside of these bar stools, the tables are more for standing at or leaning on. Partly because it meant that I had more room for tables, but also because if you actually come and stand at one of the tables, they are actually pretty much the perfect height already, so I think we can get away with it. And if we head upstairs, we come into this lovely open room, and I love it. We of course have a bunch more tables for people to gather around and put their drinks on, and we also have these two big collections of art. And for this side, we 100% needed these paintings, because without them, we just get the back of the dragon graffiti from the back of the building. So paintings were the best way I could think to cover that up. And then for the other side, I decided I really like the idea of mirroring the paintings, although of course with different sizes and images. And if you've ever been in a chain of cafes, I guess they're cafes, called The Lounge, having all these paintings is really giving me a similar vibe, because they always seem to have the strangest set of paintings hanging up in all their locations, which I just find endlessly fascinating. And the other thing we need to talk about is our green ceiling. And this isn't reminiscent of the lounge, but I do love it. Originally, I just had the two beams crossing the ceiling, and I think it looked okay. It definitely added to the design, but the room still felt a bit empty. So I thought about other bars, cafes, restaurants that I've been in, and if they've had any really cool design choices, and I am such a sucker for a place that has plants hanging from the ceiling. It always seems to give the place such a lovely atmosphere, and when I looked at the beams, I knew I could make it work in here. I was thinking of trying to have some actual hanging pots from the beams, but the limitations of the game meant that it never felt quite as full or rich as I would have liked, so I decided to go for the slightly less realistic but better looking leaves and hanging glowberry vines, which also gives the added benefit of lighting everywhere up without having to put some obvious lights somewhere in the room. One thing I will say is I do think the design probably would have worked slightly better before the falling leaf animations, because while I do love them, it does make it feel a bit less realistic to me, but it's a very minor drawback for something that definitely elevated the design, so I'm still very, very happy with my choices. But on that note, I think I'm going to leave this episode here, and I know I said this when we built the inn, but I am loving how Lower Town is coming out so far, and this whole area is looking amazing. Next time, I really want to build our healer hut, and I think do the detail stuff for this whole corner. Kind of like with the depot side, I really want to try and do the detail as we go a bit more, rather than waiting and adding it in at the end, because that way we can really get the effect and overall vibe of the areas we're building as we go, which should be very satisfying. So I am very much looking forward to that. But until then, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!